Hello, BookTube. This is Alan. I'm here with a tag. This is the supermarket shopping book tag. This is original tag created by Jason at Byways in Bookland, and I was tagged by Shawn D. Standfast. So it's a great tag. Let's go on with it. Number one, list. Before going book shopping, including virtually, do you have a list? And I may have a one book in particular that I'm looking for when I go book shopping. This past Friday, I went to Half Price Bookstore. It was open, and there was hardly anybody inside. Before they were having just curbside pickup, and it was open. I was looking for The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson because I wanted to join in the read along, which they were having, and they said, and I was told that I went to the section with the science fiction and fantasy, didn't see any, went to the information desk, and they had that screen, plastic screen there, and the lady said that Brandon Sanderson is very popular and that they didn't have any books in stock. So I might have to go later, either this week or next week, and find it, or else try to get it online or something. But I when I went to eBay, excuse me, about this month, excuse me, I went to I was looking for magazines because I wanted to participate in the Mayors for magazine that originated by Faith in Books, and so I was actually looking for a particular item for a magazine, and I got this one with a Century magazine, 1888, off of eBay. It was just $60. So I was very satisfied with that, and I read some of it, posted videos of it. Also, when I go to thrift stores, charity shops, and you don't know what you're looking for, so you don't go in there with a list. Especially one charity shop where I have to go through a lot of boxes to contain books. The books has just been dumped in there. There's like some boxes you have to go through to see if you can find something. And it's like this gentleman, someone selling this video on YouTube video. It's called American Bookman in London, and this guy was used to be a book reviewer for the Washington Post, and he said that you don't know what you want. The difference between shopping online and shopping in a bookstore is that you don't know what you want at a bookstore until you see it. So that's basically true, because a lot of virtual booksellers like Amazon and thrift books and book depository, you actually have an idea of what you want. There's one particular book that I've been trying to find, but it hasn't been unsuccessful, and is one of the Soviet Union version of the Cold War. Okay, let's move on. Number two, fruit and veg, goods for the body and the mind. Recommend a book you felt improved your physical and mental health. Well, I have one, and I have another one, but I cannot find it. And they kind of go in together. About 2 years ago, I was in a Sunday school class, Episcopal Church, and the Father Haupt was going through Instagram personality test, in which the Catholic Church uses, the Jesuits use, and it's basically a person. It's different than a lot of other personality tests in that you answer questions and they tell you what type of person you are, and you have 9 different types, and I actually thought I was a 4. It turned out I was a 2. A two is called a helper. A helper is a person that's in tune with other people's feelings, uh, helps a lot with other people, uh, is very bends over backwards so a lot of times. But the weakness in a person that has an enneagram type of number two is self-love, because they give so much of themselves, they never get anything back. So, and sometimes at the church I attended at the time, they actually thought I was gay because I was given so much love. They actually thought I was. And so you give too much of yourself. And one of the books and of course, Enneagram type, they actually have Enneagram books for different personalities. And this was the self-love experiment by Shannon Kaiser, put out by Tarcher Pedigree, and it was came out. Let's see when this came out. 2017. It's called 15 Principles for Becoming More Kind, Compassionate, and Accepting of Yourself. And yeah, that was the problem that I had, and for a long time before I took this Enneagram uh, test and found out what the problem was. The so yeah, and this is just different principles. Like when we are self-reflective and aware, we can make more balanced choices. And one guided action step at a time creates more results. And just when you let go of anger, you not only help yourself, but you also contribute to the world. And that's one of the things about having an Enneagram type 2 is that you put everything in, your anger and everything, and then suddenly explode, and people wondering what the problem is. The second book, which goes along with this, because one of the ways, not only to read this book, another way to improve your self-worth if you're Enneagram type 2 is to exercise. And so I got and I had started this before I got this book, and I got the book Education of a Bodybuilder by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I started working out, exercising, and it's really improved. So yeah, that's a self-love experiment. And let's go on to number 3, tin goods. Regardless of the label of the can, the contents are all too often bland. What's your tin can genre? Now this is going to be surprising to a lot of people, and so a lot of people will object to this, but my tin can genre is actually horror. And I've read 40 of Stephen King books, 12 of Anne Rice books, 3 Dean Koontz books, 2 Joe Hill books. I read 1 Paul Tremblay book, 1 Tanner Dew book. Hope I get the first name right. I read other horror books, horror novels, authors, and the problem is, well, let me give it to you this way. Alfred Hitchcock said that the difference between horror and suspense is a bomb theory. He said that you have 2 guys that are sitting at the table talking about baseball. There's a bomb underneath the table. The bomb goes off. That is horror. Suspense is when the 2 guys are talking about baseball at the table. The audience is shown the bomb under the table. the bombs should never go off. That's suspense. And a lot of times when these authors write horror novels, is that they don't continue the suspense, or the horror is not continuing, because you had this in Salem's Lot. Stephen King has this guy go into a diner and describe what every single person is eating. Why? That doesn't add to the story. That doesn't add to the suspense. That doesn't add to the horror of the story. Just descriptions of what everybody's eating. Nobody cares what everybody's eating. They want to go on with the story. You go on with the story, and another thing about it is that Stephen King will add something to the story, like in the book, the second book, in the Drawing of the Three is the name of it. But he'll add something at the end of the sentence, which you don't think, why? And that was when they come to this horse, and they go around the horse, and it says, and the horse farted. Who cares? Don't put it in there. And I got another quote here, is that the threat of violence is stronger than the violence. And they don't, and the horror authors these days do not keep up the suspense. They don't need to keep up the horror. They drag the story on and on and on, talking about frivolous things that have nothing to do with the story, like the medicine cabinet and It, where Stephen King gives you a list of every single item that's in the medicine cabinet. Nobody cares, okay? Move on with the story. It has nothing to do with the story whatsoever. And that's why I call it bland, because it's not. It's bland. Because when I was younger, I used to read Famous Monsters of Filmland. I used to collect plastic green models of Frankenstein and Monster, Dracula, the Mummy, Creature from Black Lagoon, and I used to dress up. And it's just all in fun. But there's no intensity whatsoever in any Stephen King novels, any Joe Hill novels, any Dean Koontz novels, or any other horror novels. None whatsoever. So that's why I call it bland. Number 4, meat and fish counter. Prepared by a skilled butcher, just how you want it. Tell us about a book you felt was just written for you. This is a hard one, because I don't. Yeah, this is a hard one. Felt written for you. Not sure. I mean, there are a lot that spoke to me, and but none just written just for me. And I mean, Philosophy of the Heart with Soren Kierkegaard are things that just spoke to me in general. But no. Number 5, baked goods. Bread is a staple for many around the world. Who is the author you can easily digest at any time of day? Well, I gotta reach over to get the book. Probably Vassal Grossman. I enjoy his stories, and this is just a collection of his short stories. I have like Stony Rod and the Life of Faith over there. And it's just a collection of short stories, which I enjoy. So, yeah, Vassal Grossman. It's very easy to digest. Uh, Number 6, chill section. Recommend a cool new author or book you recently discovered. That would be that would be Vasily Buddha by Young Moon. I have talked about this, reviewed it on earlier videos, and he's written a second book to this. This is his first one. He's a Korean author, and he graduated with a degree in psychology. He had a novel called A Man Who Barely Exists, and he's also a translator. And so this is a type. This book is kind of a continuous thought, and it's very good. I really enjoyed this one. He wrote another one called Seven Samurai Swept Away in a River. So yeah, Young Moon is the author's name. So that was number 6. Let's move on to number 7. Frozen section. Tell us about a book that gave you the shivers. Well, I already told you what I thought of her. This one would be Helter Skelter. Forgot the author's name. And it talked about the Manson family and the killings that went on with Sharon Tate and others. And because it was real, that's what gave me the shivers, because it's real. Number 8, Beer, Wine, and Spirits. Excuse me. Beer, Wine, and Spirits. Name one of the first books you read that made you feel like an adult. Well, Beer, Wine, and Spirits, that's interesting that he would have a section called Beer, Wine, and Spirits here. Because in the area of Dallas where I live, it's dry. It was dry for a long time. And what I mean by dry is that there were certain sections in Dallas that you had a wet section and a dry section. Where the wet section you could serve beer and wine, alcohol. The dry section you could not. So, for instance, you would have, on one side of the street, you would have clubs, restaurants that serve beer, hard liquor, wine. On the other side of the street, you would have like a Walgreens and a supermarket. They were not allowed to sell beer or wine because it was in a dry area. There, where I live, there used to be there was a store that sold. The store is now that does not sell beer or wine. Across the street, there's a Walgreens. There's a Walmart that sells beer and wine. And a Walmart. That Walgreens I told you about, the manager had to go of the store. I had to go down to City Hall to get because she wanted to sell beer and wine in her store. So she had to go to City Hall several times in order to get the line moved to the back of her store. Because it was in the front of the store, she had to get it moved in the back of the store so she could serve beer and wine. The hard liquor would be served somewhere else. But that's the way it was growing up in Dallas. And a lot of people coming from New York or Boston would say, oh, I would just go down to the corner store and just buy a 6-pack of Slits and bring it up and walk up back to the house. Well, you couldn't do that in Dallas. If you wanted beer and wine and you lived in a dry area, you had to drive 20 minutes to get a 6-pack or a 12-pack and drive all the way back. You had to do that. I remember one time when there was a Chinese restaurant. It was about 10 minutes away from a Baptist church that I attended. And the pastor of the church stood up for the congregation and said, oh, this Chinese restaurant down the street is going to have a liquor license, trying to get a liquor license to sell liquor, and we don't want that because, it's a sin to drink. And so we're protesting this, but still go to that restaurant to get the food. And yes, so the Baptist church at that time was very influential in all areas of politics. So name well, I didn't start reading. I read 2 books when I was a child, and that was Charlotte's Web and The Mouse and the Motorcycle. So I didn't read anything until I was an adult. But let me indulge me for a moment here, because I'm going to make it spiritual. In Ephesians, the Apostle Paul says, stop acting like children, basically. You have to act like adults, because if you continue to act like children, you're going to be tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine, by every deceitful word that comes out of someone's mouth. And so, in order to grow, you have to grow as a Christian. You're a babe in Christ, but you have to continue to grow. If you don't, the Apostle Paul just warned you. So this is the Almost Christian Discovered by Matthew Mead. Matthew Mead, as you see on the cover, lived from 1629 to 1699. And it says here on the back, while cheap race and easy believism are relatively new terms, antinomianism is not. Martin Luther coined the phrase and referred to those who wanted all the benefits of salvation without any of the obligations. And that's what I read in let me get the book. This book, Soren Kierkegaard, Philosopher of the Heart, and the rest of his life, Soren Kierkegaard by Claire Carlyle. He thought the same thing, that it would pertain to church, which is easy believism. And so this is a Puritan author, and pointed out basically that the same thing that Soren Kierkegaard was pointing out, that the creed, the conduct, and the way the people were living at the time, they were not living Christian life. So this is the Almost Christian Discovered. Let's go on to number 9, Sweets Candy. What genre or author is indulgent when you just pick up? I guess I can't read my own writing. That would be Joe Nesbo thrillers. I like thrillers, and Joe Nesbo is good at thrillers. So just like to pick this up. It's not very quick, and you just get involved into the story, and that's what I like to do. Number 10, magazine stands. If you read magazines, journals, share some titles with us. Oh, I got several here. A lot. Okay, the first one is Texas Highways. This is a journal about Texas, where I live, fortunately, and just shows each magazine is called the Travel Magazine of Texas, and this is actually the Christmas issue. It has beautiful photos in here, and just shows different essays, different about counties or cities, or places in Texas. That's beautiful. And this is Turinga, which is in the Big Bend National Park area. And they have a show there, which is very good. So you can sit there among the mountains and watch the show, and it just tells you different events that are going on throughout Texas, and yeah, just hits different areas, and talks about, this one's talking about saddle shops. You want to ever get buy a saddle, uh, different leather. So yeah, Texas highways. And parents gave me this for a Christmas present. Yeah, really enjoyed it. They really enjoyed it also. The next one is the New York Review of Books. Actually bought this because I purchased a lot of New York Review books, and last year when they had a huge sale, and they don't this year. They don't have a big sale as they did last year, and maybe later when this pandemic ends. And so they kept bothering me about, okay, you need to get this newspaper. You need to get that newspaper. I said, okay, I will. And so I read some of the articles in here, especially like the different ads they have from different university presses. In fact, I ordered a couple of books just by looking in here. Oh, that looks interesting, so I went ahead and bought it. So they have some good articles in here and good book reviews. The next one is Writer's Digest. I bought this one. I showed this before on the videos channel. I bought this because I was in a writing course at Southern Methodist University and learned how to write. And this has poems. It has breaking in, or different people have written. Started with their debut novel. Talks about an article here called "Meet the Agent," what they're looking for, what they don't want in the book. This is different inspirations, how to begin a story, how to begin a novel, different interviews. So yeah, I still had this one, so, even though it's been a while. The next one is BBC Music, classical music magazine. I really enjoy this. This is from the BBC. This is it has a little CD here, a tape to the magazine, which about classical music or something that is they might have something like on Chopin or Bach or Beethoven, and the little CD will just have a couple of tracks from the main article. But this is 20 works that defied the century, and they'll talk about different festivals going on, different operas, have different interviews, and it's a very good magazine. I really enjoy it. And so here's the main article. Sounds of a century. How have 100 years since World War I been reflected in classical music? And they present the 20 works to define the spirit of the era. So yeah, and of course Shostakovich's Fifth Symphony is there from 28 to 37, and Carmen Verona by Cora Ulf. Yeah, and Mazian from the Quartet at the End of the Time, 1941, and talks about the times and the music that goes on. And it has a musical destination. This is Beirut, Lebanon. So it's a very good magazine. I read it cover to cover, and talk about a little bit about jazz and what's going on in the TV and radio. Usually, a lot of times when I buy this, it's out of date because it's printed in England, and $12.99 prices. It's really good because of the CD you have. The next two, I'm behind in my reading of this. This is Foreign Affairs. I like Foreign Affairs. I used to buy this at the bookstore, but now I just subscribe to it, and it's very good. I really enjoy it, and it's published by the Council of Foreign Relations, which, that's a conspiracy theory all on its own. This particular one has they have several articles about the front cover, and then they have essays. There's one essay in this particular one: Why America Must Lead Again, Rescuing U.S. Foreign Policy After Trump, by Joseph R. Biden Jr. So yes, Joe Biden wrote an article in here. That's probably better than he speaks, but and they also talk about, and in the back they have recent books. In the back they have recent books with political, legal, different book reviews back here, economic, social, environmental, and military, technology, the United States, Western Europe, Western Hemisphere, Eastern Europe, and former Soviet republics. There's one called Stuck on Communism, Memoir of a Russian Historian by Louis H. Ziegelbaum. And history of the Red Army in World War II through objects. They have one on the Middle East, one on Asia Pacific, and one on Africa. The next one is also Foreign Affairs. This one is the May-June issue, and it talks about how to prevent a climate catastrophe. And this has an article on that main page, but article written by James A. Baker III, George P. Schultz, and Ted Holstead. So you get a lot of people who are in politics or economics or very high up in that area that have knowledge more than me, but but they have a lot of knowledge. And you have essays, what Kim wants, the Hope and Fears of North Korea's Dictator by Jean H. Pak. So and you have an article here called Britain Adrift, the Next Iranian Revolution. And it's actually a very good magazine if you want to know something about the world and what's going on in the world besides watching CNN. You can pick this up. Political and legal. These are all sorts of different books. Why carbon tax is good for America, and different. It goes about the same. How to make love to a despot, and alternative foreign policy for the 21st century. Western Europe. There's it's Europe Christian. Different books here. There's one book I was trying to look for here, and I saw it last night. Arab Winter. So these are the books, magazines that I generally look at. Foreign Affairs, BBC Music Magazine, Texas Highways. Okay, we're going on almost 35 minutes. We're at the last one. Checkout time. Time to go home and unpack. Tag some shoppers on the way in. So I'll tag the book lady and spontaneous reader. And the book is Brian's. Thank you very much, BookTube. Take care.